In the spring of 1324, an emperor departed his capital with over 24,000 pounds of pure gold, a fortune worth roughly $500 million today, simply to go on a pilgrimage. Every single one of his 80,000 travelers carried gold dust, while his personal camels bore heavy ingots that caught the harsh Saharan sun. But how does a ruler with so much wealth that he could buy entire kingdoms end up setting off a chain reaction that would systematically devalue his own empire's currency and lay the groundwork for its ultimate collapse? The answer began to unfold in the busy financial quarters of Cairo, where merchants operated under the steady gaze of the Mamluk Sultan. When Mansa Musa arrived in the summer of that year, his followers flooded the markets with so much raw gold that they broke the local economy. The sheer volume of new gold entering the Egyptian market instantly destroyed its rarity, causing the price of gold in Cairo to plummet by roughly 12%. This was not a temporary dip, as the value of Egypt's currency remained severely depressed for over 12 years, ruinously inflating the cost of basic goods for ordinary citizens. It is the only documented time in human history that a single man single-handedly controlled the global price of gold. Yet this spectacular display of wealth was the very force that began to hollow out the foundations of his empire. Before the Great Pilgrimage, the source of this unimaginable wealth was hidden deep within the forested goldfields of Bure and Bambuk, located in modern-day Guinea and Mali. In these humid red dirt river valleys, thousands of laborers panned for gold dust under the strict oversight of local chiefs. Every single nugget found in these mines belonged by law to the emperor, while the common people were only permitted to keep the fine dust. The Empire of Mali had effectively secured a geographic monopoly on the most coveted metal in the medieval world. To the north, across the blistering expanses of the Sahara, lay the ancient salt mines of Tagaza, where workers carved slabs of mineral salt directly from the dry earth. In the bustling market towns of Timbuktu and Gao, these two essential commodities met. Merchants from Morocco and Venice exchanged slabs of Saharan salt for equal weights of West African gold, establishing trade routes that generated massive tax revenues for the Malian crown. At every toll station along these routes, imperial officers collected a tax of 1 gold dinar, worth about $5 then or roughly $200 today, for every donkey load of goods. By the time Mansa Musa ascended the throne in 1312, his treasury was receiving the equivalent of tens of millions of dollars in annual tribute. The empire had grown to encompass over 1 million square miles, stretching from the Atlantic coast to the Niger River bend. In his capital of Niamey, a city of clay-walled palaces and cool shaded courtyards, Musa began planning his historic journey to Mecca. This was not merely a spiritual quest, but a massive geopolitical branding exercise designed to put Mali on the European and Middle Eastern maps. The caravan that finally assembled in 1324 was a moving city of 80,000 people, including royal wives, soldiers, and administrators clad in imported Persian silks. Among them were 12,000 personal attendants, each carrying a staff of solid gold weighing 4 pounds, worth roughly $80,000 today. Behind them marched 80 camels, each loaded with 300 pounds of pure gold dust destined for charity, diplomatic gifts, and daily purchases. The caravan crawled across the shifting red dunes of the Sahara, consuming vast amounts of water and grain at every desert oasis. When the imperial procession finally entered the limestone gates of Cairo, the local population was stunned by the sheer scale of the foreign wealth. Musa refused to meet the Mamluk Sultan Al-Nasir Muhammad at first, unwilling to perform the customary ritual of kissing the ground before the foreign ruler. When he finally relented, the meeting in the citadel was marked by a tense exchange of expensive gifts, including hundreds of embroidered robes and jeweled swords. Musa was given a grand palace for his stay, but his followers did not remain confined to the royal quarters. Instead, thousands of Malian travelers poured into the narrow stone alleys of Cairo's financial districts, eager to purchase luxury goods. They bought foreign silks, rare spices, and exquisite copper vessels, paying for every transaction with generous handfuls of gold dust. Local merchants, realizing the travelers had little understanding of Egyptian market prices, quickly inflated their rates by 5 or 10 times the normal amount. The Malians paid these exorbitant prices without hesitation, essentially pouring hundreds of millions of modern dollars into the local economy within a matter of weeks. The result was a catastrophic supply shock that instantly devalued the local currency. This sudden deluge of gold shattered the delicate balance of the Mediterranean and Middle Eastern financial systems. In the years following Musa's visit, the value of the gold mythical fell sharply against the silver dirham, throwing the Egyptian monetary system into complete chaos. Ordinary Cairo citizens found that their savings in silver could buy far less than before, as the sudden abundance of gold drove up the prices of bread, oil, and wheat. To salvage his own reputation and correct the market, Musa performed a highly unusual financial maneuver on his return journey through the city. He borrowed back large quantities of gold from local Cairo merchants at extremely high interest rates, effectively trying to siphon the excess supply out of circulation. The interest rates were predatory, with some reports indicating that Musa paid back up to 75% interest on the borrowed funds. It was a desperate attempt to stabilize a crisis he had created, but the damage to Egypt's economy was already done, and the seeds of Mali's own vulnerability had been planted. Musa returned to his empire with a retinue of foreign scholars, architects, and poets, whom he hired with his remaining gold. Among them was Abu Ishak al-Sahili, a brilliant Andalusian architect who was paid 80 pounds of gold, worth roughly $1.6 million today, to build the famous Gingereber Mosque in Timbuktu. Under al-Sahili's direction, the city was transformed from a dusty trading post into a majestic metropolis of baked earth and towering minarets. Scholars from across the Islamic world flocked to Timbuktu's libraries, turning the empire into a global beacon of learning and wealth. For a brief moment, Mali stood at the absolute zenith of its power, immortalized on European maps as a king holding a massive golden nugget. But this golden age rested on a fragile foundation of absolute monarchical power and highly volatile trade routes. When Mansa Musa died around 1337, he left his empire to his son, Magan I, who lacked his father's administrative grip and diplomatic foresight. Within a decade, the massive debts incurred during the pilgrimage, combined with the lavish spending on architectural monuments, began to strain the imperial treasury. Seizing on this sudden weakness, nomadic Mossi raiders swept down from the south, sacking Timbuktu and burning its legendary clay markets to the ground. Simultaneously, the tributary states of Gao and Songhai began to assert their independence, refusing to send their annual shipments of gold and grain to the capital. By the early 16th century, the shift in global trade routes dealt the final, fatal blow to Mali's economic dominance. Portuguese caravels began arriving along the West African coast, establishing direct maritime trade with the southern goldfields and bypassing the trans-Saharan routes entirely. The dusty desert caravans that had once brought immense wealth to Timbuktu became obsolete, leaving the empire's great trading cities isolated and broke. In 1591, a Moroccan army equipped with modern firearms crossed the Sahara and easily defeated the remaining Malian forces, seeking the legendary gold mines that had once fueled Musa's journey. What they found instead were depleted shafts, empty palaces, and dry wells, as the legendary wealth of Mali had already dissolved into the desert winds. Today, the ruins of Timbuktu's clay mosques stand as quiet monuments to a fortune that was once deemed infinite. The lesson of Mansa Musa's grand procession is one that modern central banks still struggle to master. Wealth is not found in the weight of the metal we possess, but in its scarcity. When you treat gold like dust, the world will eventually treat your gold like dirt.